It's really about why you, the people that actually know how to get an entrepreneur into the right support environment. How do you see the uniqueness about the entrepreneurship and about the innovation ecosystem? That's what we want to talk about. But before I start, I'm going to ask my panelists to just quickly introduce themselves, but more in terms of what is your role? Put in the context of the Florida innovation ecosystem. You know, what is your role? How can you support those people that were standing earlier?
You want me to start?
With you?
Sure. My name is Mark Wyllie. I'm CEO of Flagship Solutions Group. I started Flagship about 3 years ago, November of '08. Great economic climate. In addition, I'm also executive director of Internet Coast, and have been involved in that literally from its inception about 14 years ago. There's a couple other folks that are here in the room, and actually, you know, it's a small world down here for sure, because we're actually the ones that wrote the RFP that was the NAP of the Americas that Manny ultimately responded to that turned into Terramark. So, and now as Flagship, Terramark's one of my customers. So it's just, you know, so some of it I do think is that, you know, you do have to build a network of people in the area that you're in. And a lot of that, I think, you know, for me, I've been in nonprofits forever. And, you know, I really do believe that's always been a part of my success, is because when you work with people side by side in a nonprofit, on a committee, not just attending a networking event, and handing out business cards, that cracks me up. People, when they go home, they go, I handed 30 cards out, so what? But, you know, people, I think they learn who you are, and my attitude's always been, depending upon how well you do in that nonprofit, people go, well, if they do a good job in that, what kind of job would they do when they actually get paid to do the work, right? So, the Flagship is an IBM, actually, you know, again, back to partners, right, is an IBM business partner. I've been in the IBM community for about 15 years, and prior to that I worked for NCR. And I always say, Tom Watson left NCR to go start IBM, and so I feel also that's part of why I fit into the culture of IBM pretty well, because, you know, NCR was very, very similar in terms of philosophies and culture and those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But we focus on doing integrated solutions. We resell IBM hardware and software, as well as services. We've built a whole managed services business over the last couple of years around maintaining and servicing and keeping IBM gear up and running. So that's our principal business. So if
you want to know how to make the big IBM,
well, it is actually. We kid that we have customers, but our largest customer is IBM, you know, I do think that's one of my strengths and our company's strength. And the way I position the customers is we bring the best of IBM and shield you from the worst.
So I'm Jane Teague. I actually am wearing two hats currently. I'm the Executive Director of Enterprise Development Corporation, which is a nonprofit that assists emerging science and technology companies throughout South Florida. We see about 300 science and tech entrepreneurs a year. Our backbone program is a mentoring program where we link entrepreneurs up with whatever resources they may need, whether it's resources at a university, attorneys, mentors who can help them with their business strategy, whatever area they need help in. That's what we do. We manage 3 incubator programs right now, and we manage a couple of angel investment groups and 2 major conferences. My other role right now is Interim Executive Director of the Institute for Commercialization of Public Research, which is a statewide entity that creates new companies from research institutions throughout Florida. So we have 11 state universities and 15 private institutions like University of Miami that receive public funding. Mm-hmm. It's all about startups and jobs from those entities. We do $2 billion in research in the state of Florida a year. A lot of people don't know that, and it's about getting more of that research to come out the other side in the form of companies.
That's a very important part of any innovation ecosystems, to have these research institutions and the level of innovation that can be commercialized. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Albert?
I'm Albert Santalo. I'm founder and CEO of Carecloud. I'm very happy to be here today. Entrepreneurship is something that I'm very, very passionate about. So I originally, most people don't know this, but I'm originally a computer engineer. I spent the better part of the first 10 years of my career developing software, and that's what I've always kind of loved to do. The second half of my career I spent dealing really with the business side of software. I'm a second-time entrepreneur, so I started a company in 2001 called Avicenna here in South Florida, which is also a technology company for healthcare. And if you remember what it was like in 2001, right? It was not a very good economy. And here I was, a 33-year-old entrepreneur raising money for the first time, being a CEO for the first time, and it was a very, very scary thing. This was a month after 9/11 and a year after the dot-coms had collapsed. So we built that company up successfully, and in 2008, when I depart from that company and really wanted to, you know, I could, as was said before, I really had the itch to continue. And so in another economic downturn started Carecloud. So this was the Great Depression of our time, right? And so,
your timing.
yeah, so we incorporated the company in January of 2009, went out looking for $2 million of angel capital. Got that done. We were 40% oversubscribed. Was able to get, so it was about $3 million, able to get the company beginning to develop software on mid-year that year, and launched the product in March of 2010, raised another $5 million of angel capital. So about $8 million all in. And you know, I want to stop there and just kind of say South Florida, $8 million of angel capital, all, you know, structured in a way that's favorable to the entrepreneur and the team. And most people don't know that that's even possible. In fact, I would tell you, when we're out in the valley and we're talking to people, they're like, how much money did you get to start the company? And they're shocked. So one of the big advantages we have here is the ability to access high net worths and angel investors. So I think that's huge. We then you know, continued to grow the company. Somewhere along the line, in an interesting turn of events, I was in Barcelona. We were invited by MIT to be one of 3 companies representing the U.S. at the HIT Barcelona conference. And I met Martin Kelly from IBM Venture Capital, who's a colleague of Claudia's, who said, you know what, we don't do direct investments in company, but there's this thing called Smart Camp that we think you should participate in. And we're running one, we just ran one in Boston and we have one in Silicon Valley. Why don't you apply? So we did. And they started with about 100 companies and whittled them down to like 25. And then they shortlisted those 25 to 5. And we were this Miami company, and there was these 4 Silicon Valley companies. And so we went out to IBM's office in Silicon Valley, had grueling 2 days of competition. And then we went out to the Quadras in Sand Hill Road, and we competed in front of the entire venture community, and we won. And we were the co-winner along with Streetline, who's a Silicon Valley company. But everybody's looking around saying, who are these guys from Miami who come out here, who probably had to work twice as hard to get everyone's attention, and won the competition? And so as part of that, you know, we obviously met a lot of people, and I think that one of the things that we've done really, really well is that we've kept one foot in the Valley and one in Miami the entire time. And we just in September ended up closing a round of $20 million, which was led by Intel Capital and Norwest Venture Partners, which a lot of people don't, everyone knows who Intel is, but Norwest is, you know, a Silicon Valley royalty, 50-year-old fund that invested in companies like PeopleSoft and Workday and Rackspace.
Royalty indeed. In 2009, Norwest closed $1.2 billion in the middle of the crisis, and nobody was able to raise any money.
Yeah. And their managing partner, which, again, for a managing partner to come on the board of a company, he's got lots of people he can delegate that to. And he took the board seat with us. A guy named Pramod Haq, who has been #1 on the Forbes Midas list of venture capital multiple times. And he flies out once a month to Miami to attend board meetings. And he's got lots of other better things to do, right? So, you know, we were able to do that because we believed we could. And IBM and SmartCamp was a big part of that. Both Intel and Norwest, we met there. And
they were assigned to mentor this little company.
Yeah.
So look what happened.
Yeah, and so we are, just to tell you a little bit about the business. you know, healthcare is this very broken industry. There's this segment of the world called healthcare IT companies, which have been trying to, you know, been delivering solutions for healthcare in a very old, antiquated, and broken kind of way. And we believe that the way to fix healthcare is through technology. And you have to approach it like Silicon Valley approaches it. You can't approach it like the healthcare IT companies have approached it. And so we are building what we call a digital ecosystem for healthcare. If you think about healthcare, it's this very social thing too. There's doctors passing patients along to each other. We believe that social has to be at the foundational level of that. But at the same time, you have to deliver very strong kind of business applications and clinical applications to make it a meaningful experience for the participants. So we look today like a software company on the internet for healthcare, but what we really are is we're trying to bring as many members into the scene so that there's a network effect that takes hold in the business and that we can deliver these solutions. And I'll wrap up. I know it's taking a little long, but I want to wrap up with one important concept. We built the system as a platform, okay? So it's a set of applications and services upon which apps and even companies can be built. So today we build on top of that platform. But in the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to open up that platform to allow other companies to build, whether they be established companies or they be entrepreneurial ventures, because we can accelerate how long the time to market is, probably by a factor of 5, by building on what we've already built, and on top of that, accessing an efficient distribution network of members that are in the Carecloud network. So we can shorten the commercialization time as well. And so a big part of the foundation of Carecloud is to enable entrepreneurship. And we feel so strongly about that we'll probably create a fund and an incubator of sorts to fuel that.
You know, one lesson here is never skip an opportunity to sell. Thank you all. John.
So I'm John Duffy. I'm going to be real brief. I'm the CEO and the founder of a company called 3C Interactive. We connect our clients to the mobile phone networks. We're not a startup anymore. The company was founded in 2005 and we really started getting after it in 2007. Today, we are one of the fastest growing companies in America. We have a lot of jobs every month, and some of the world's best companies are our customers. And I like to get involved in things like this because, as the CEO of a company that's crossed over to starting to make it, I miss the challenges and the fun associated with a startup. I still have a job to do, so I can't necessarily go back to my drawing board and start something new. So I take some time every week to try and mentor entrepreneurs. I am the product of great mentoring. If you know anything about me, you know I have great people on our board and great people as investors in our company that work with me all the time to try and make me better. Because of that, and because I don't really have a lot of other hobbies, I like to spend time working with people on their idea. And it's a lot of fun, and I feel it's the right thing to do. I tell people that I believe there's a big difference between being an inventor and an entrepreneur. I very rarely, if ever, have a great idea, but I know how to build a team, find a market, create the processes to capitalize on that market. And those are the messages that I try and relate to the entrepreneurs I work with. And I also like to invest in them. I'm lucky I've been successful since I've lived in South Florida since the 80s. And I had the opportunity to make small investments in the entrepreneurs I like, and I try and make at least one of those a month. And so it keeps me excited and allows me to meet a lot of new people, which is my favorite thing. And I really appreciate you guys having me here today.
Thank you, John. Maria.
Good afternoon. My name is Madea Blanc. I come from Spain. I was born in Madrid, and I came to this country actually 12 years ago. Also, kind of trying to get the excitement of entrepreneurship, and California at that time was what attracted me. And I've been working for Intel Capital since then. I'm a managing director in that group. I am one of the members of the investment committee. And we as Intel, I think that we has a similar history as IBM and other big corporations. More and more, if you talk to the senior executives of Intel, they appreciate that we have a corporate investment arm. There are 200 of us worldwide, and they see us as like the eyes and ears into what's happening in the world. I mean, especially in the case of Intel, a very kind of strong company in microprocessors, trying to diversify for the last many years into other areas of technology. We act as the way to try to find out new things. And so I'm lucky to be in that group. We have a global perspective. We have always been pioneers to the point that I actually often I didn't understand how are we so aggressive, but we were one of the first investors in China. Today everybody's there. We have now, since last year, a representation in South Africa. How much technology is there, one could ask, but there is entrepreneurship, and it's hard at the beginning, but entrepreneurship is taking over in every economy. And therefore, we think that if we come early, we learn, and we partner with the local community. So we have people in South Africa, we have people in Central Europe, we have invested in Turkey, we have invested in Central Europe, in many countries. So, and here in the US, we have people around the country. Most of us are in the West Coast. We don't have anyone in Florida. I think that we should have, but...
Hey, you got an investment here.
We have an investment, and we have invested in Florida for many, many years. And I was looking last night about how big is Florida in our deal flow. And it's, in terms of numbers, I counted that about 3% of opportunities, I look at 2,000 opportunities that we've seen over the last few years, and 3% came from Florida. That sounds small, but at the same time, it's the same as we have seen, for example, in Colorado and Arizona together, or in the technology triangle, way behind, of course, California, Boston, New York. But we are very excited to be in your company now, and I hope that this also makes us and make also other Silicon Valley firms look at Florida with refreshed eyes.
I would even add that the other one that's big down here is that Intel Capital put in $40 million into OpenPeak, which is in Boca Raton, making tablets that are iPad, competitors. So I guess, and these are just right here in South Florida as well. But that's a lot of money to invest in a local company for something like that. But their tablet has now been picked up by Cisco, and Cisco's distributing that tablet as their Cisco tablet. So there are spotted in South Florida success stories like that.
Actually, that's great, because that is my next question, and thank for the leading. Is really, as you do business here, in all aspects of cultivating this innovation, driving your own innovation, what really would you consider that is unique and sort of the good, bad, and ugly, let's put it that way, not just unique in terms of let's all, go my yacht and sing all the nice things about Florida, but what are the unique aspects of Florida that anchors you here, that continue to keep you here, looking for, to build your company, looking to mentor young company, looking to invest in company, or including those things that you think Florida can still improve with your help. Let's see, ladies first.
Oh boy. Thank you.
I love that.
So since you said we could talk good, bad, and ugly, I think Florida is a very diverse state, geographically, culturally, industry-wise, and I think that that's a strength and a weakness. So we have a long, for Florida, heritage of certain industries. For example, medical devices. Coulter was started here, two guys in a garage, the blood counter industry formed here. Major generic pharmaceutical companies like Ibex and Andrex. We have a lot of biopharmaceutical here in South Miami. And up the Space Coast, aviation, aerospace, big industries that are here. And so I think that offers a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurs in all different areas. Now, the size of Florida and the diversity of Florida makes it difficult. Miami is not Broward, is not Palm Beach, is not Tallahassee, Leon County. It's, you could be driving through 5 states in New England where I am to cover that kind of ground, where I'm from, excuse me. So I think, you know, there's pros to that and also cons. Tremendous opportunity, but a little challenging too.
So it's a very diverse. How about you, Mark?
Well, I think, you know, I would agree with that, although, you know, the other perspective is it's also a small world down here, I think. At least my experience is that, you know, you go to these meetings and you run into half a dozen people. You go to another meeting and there's another half dozen people that you know, and you know, part of it is just being in the area a long time too. So I think that's part of it. But I do think, you know, while there's some diversity by county, and that's probably been the biggest challenge, is you don't, you know, and even Internet Coast from the beginning, part of the whole philosophy behind it was to look at it as a region and not as a county. And I think that still is a challenge because everybody's a little bit parochial in terms of their specific area. So to me, that's the downside, and the challenge that we've got to do is to be able to kind of reach across different counties. You know, there's always a joke, you need a passport to get to Miami-Dade, right? So, you know, so I do think that's sort of the downside, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of people that do cross the counties, and the businesses aren't focused by county. It's more the government and some of the agencies that are more focused that way.
No, Albert, you know, when they brought you in, I said, Florida. Tell him to go back and wait until we do something in Florida. So I'll keep you here. I know you're very insistent of staying here.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've been asked to move, you know, and we said no. And there's a lot of reasons why I wouldn't even, you know, entertain it. One of them is I don't want to live anywhere else. I mean, this is paradise. And I think a lot of people feel that way, especially after air conditioning. I think 50 years ago it might have been different. But, if, you know, again, one of the things we did was we wanted to be in Florida, but we knew that to do things the best, we had to have one foot in Silicon Valley. And, you know, Claudia will tell you how many times she saw me over there and at Smart Camp, at otherwise, doing stuff, because the best practices and the best entrepreneurship ecosystem in the world is in Silicon Valley. There's no doubt about it. And if you're in technology, even more so. And we will never be that. We have no chance of being that in our lifetimes, I believe. But we can play to our strengths, and there are many. The cost of doing business, obviously, a lot more attractive over here, whether it be state or, you know, there's no state tax. The cost of employing people. In Silicon Valley, you have over 100,000 open job positions in the tech industry. So imagine what it's like to compete. Imagine what it's like to have a software developer that you have a software development team, you know you're gonna lose 100% of them in the next 12 months, and you gotta have a system in your company to replace them and get them up to speed again. And so, you know, we have virtually no turnover in our development ranks, and that keeps the brain trust in place, which is what you need. The access to capital problem, you know, you got to solve it. We chose to not access any kind of Southeast VCs. People asked us, why? Did you talk to this firm here in Miami? No, we didn't talk to any of those people, because we didn't feel, we were not just looking for the money, we were looking for the capabilities. But the VCs will tell you, and I think Intel is an incredible example of this. Intel is my favorite VC. And you know, the story's not written yet, but so far they're my favorite VC. And the reason for that is that they're democratizing the industry. They're taking a worldview of investing. They've got over 100 investment professionals. They're cranking out investments in companies, and they're taking risk. And they're not a VC, they're a corporation that has a VC arm. But they're killing it. They're being incredibly successful, and they're keeping the regular VC community honest, because they're up. You know, they're not valuation driven so much, and they have a long-term view of investing. And you know, most people don't know this, but they've done $10 billion of investment lifetime, and they've got $500 million they deployed this year, which is incredible. So, you know, South Florida, and which my expertise is more around South Florida, I think is an incredible place. We don't have big companies. We have to be entrepreneurial. We don't have all this kind of entrenched success in any one industry when the world is redefining itself, because it is. And software is leading that redefinition. And we're also, if you think of software as art, which we do, South Florida is an incredible design center, right? So Oracle and SAP, that's not art, right? But Apple, Facebook, that's art. And we think of software these days has to appeal to the consumer. And so that's part of what we had to sell to the world. And then Pramod Haq from Norwest would tell you innovation happens close to the need. And healthcare, which is our industry, there's a lot of healthcare that goes on. Now, one quick point on the bad, and this is something that we all have to overcome, and something that really upsets me, is that South Florida is also known for a lot of corruption. And that's something that I had to overcome, you know, in dealing with people that didn't know me, and there's been a lot of money pumped into this community through corruption, whether it be in the 80s and in the drug industry, or it be in the, later on in Medicare fraud and things like that, and that hurts us tremendously. And so we need to change that perception over time through just honest, hard work, entrepreneurship, successful companies that kind of came out of this incredible community.